Astro Boy, also known by the name Mighty Atom in Japan, is a manga series written and illustrated by Osamu Tezuka. The series was published in Kobunsha's Shonen magazine from 1952 to 1968. The entire 112 chapter series was collected into 23 tankobon volumes by Akita Shoten. Dark Horse would later publish an English translation in 2002. The story follows a young robot boy named Astro who is created by a scientist named Tenma to replace his lost son. Astro has advanced artificial intelligence and superhuman powers, which he uses to defend the Earth and its inhabitants from danger. The series will follow Astro as he goes on various adventures and encounters a wide range of characters, both human and robotic. Along the way, he learns about the importance of friendship and the value of life, both human and robotic. Astro Boy has been adapted into multiple anime series produced by Mushi Production as well as its successor Tezuka Productions. The manga was originally written for TV as Astro Boy, which became the first anime series to become popular in and outside of Japan, which would also become the first anime with the traditional art style that we know of today. After seeing a lot of success overseas, Astro Boy would eventually be remade in the 1980s as New Mighty Atom, and then again in 2003. 2009 would also see them release a 3D CG film based off the original manga series by Osamu Tezuka, which would receive mixed reviews, although it did have Samuel L. Jackson in it, which is cool. There have been other series to release since that time, as recently as 2019, with the series titled Go-Go Atom. After the huge success of the manga and anime series, Astro Boy became a massive media franchise consisting of films, a number of soundtracks, and a bunch of video games. The series was also one of the first franchises to start making a lot of merchandise, including action figures, collectible figures, clothing, and trading cards. By 2004, the franchise had made over $3 billion in merchandise sales. Astro Boy is one of the most successful anime and manga franchises in the world, and is Osamu Tezuka's most famous manga series. The manga has gone on to sell over 100 million copies worldwide, which makes it Osamu Tezuka's best-selling manga, as well as just straight up one of the best-selling manga series of all time. The 1963 anime series became a massive success on TV in Japan and the United States. Astro Boy has inspired many other influential mangaka to create their own manga. The Astro Boy series consists of several storylines. Atom, also known as Astro in English, originally appeared as a side character in Osamu Tezuka's manga series known as Atom Taishi or Ambassador Atom, which appeared in a monthly shonen magazine in April 1951. Osamu Tezuka would then go on to create a manga series where Astro would end up being the main character. As Osamu Tezuka's art style grew, Astro Boy started to become more modern and a hell of a lot cuter to really appeal to the audience of boys in elementary school. When designing side characters, Osamu Tezuka would sometimes create characters that would pay homage to people like Walt Disney and Max Fleischer, who would bring many iconic characters to the big screen for the first time like Betty Boop and Popeye, as well as many other American animators as well. Osamu Tezuka had a massive amount of characters that he would call a star system of characters, which is where characters from his other manga would play a bunch of different roles in Astro Boy. There would also of course be a bunch of characters in Astro Boy that would appear in his other manga. You can see Astro Boy make appearances in a series of edu manga or educational manga that tell biographies of some famous people like Helen Keller, Albert Einstein, and Mother Teresa. These manga would end up being published by Kodansha, starting from 2000 and going until 2002, with the English versions being published by Digital Manga Publishing and going from 2003 to 2005. In 2003, Naoki Urasawa wrote the manga series Pluto. The series ran until 2009. It adapts Astro Boy's The Greatest Robot on Earth arc into a murder mystery. There was a manga series of Astro Boy written by Akira Himekawa that ran from April 2003 to August 2003. The character designs, plot, and just about everything else followed what was done in the 2003 anime series. The artwork is quite different from Osamu Tezuka's original manga. There was also a prequel series titled Atom the Beginning, which began its serialization in 2014. It eventually got an anime adaptation in 2017. The manga was originally published by Akita Shoten, with there being 23 paper volumes released. The chapters don't appear in the order that they were published, but in the order that Tezuka and the collection editors decided was right. So that means that the series will begin with the birth of Astro Boy, a chapter that Tezuka wrote in 1975 to make the series a lot easier to understand. The first Astro Boy chapter ever written, first published in April of 1951, is in volume 15. Osamu Tezuka would often redraw chapters that he created earlier. So for a lot of his older chapters, pages would be reprinted in black and white for the inexpensive paperback volumes. The English version of Astro Boy is an adaptation of the Akita Shoten version. In order to read the series as we would in English, they ended up flipping the artwork for the series to make it be read from left to right. A man named Frederick Schott translated the English version of Astro Boy, and for most of the chapters, he used the original Japanese names. Schott believed that he had to keep the original Japanese names wherever possible, as the story took place in Japan. The editors of the English version of Astro Boy didn't remove any content that could be seen as racially insensitive. However, despite that, they felt that it wouldn't be right to revise the series because Osamu Tezuka had passed away, as they felt that revising the series would violate his right as a creator. They also held the belief that stopping the publication of the series would do almost nothing to end racial and ethnic discrimination. Besides just the original manga series, Astro Boy had many unlicensed manga series that were released without the consent of Osamu Tezuka. Like for instance, when in 1965, Gold Key Comics would publish a one-shot series which was licensed by NBC Enterprises, or just known as Universal Television. This series would be based off the American version of Astro Boy. This was of course one of the series that was made without the consent of Osamu Tezuka, who would go on to say that the book was unauthorized or pirated, and he denounced the publication as horribly drawn. Astro Boy would also go on to make an appearance in the giveaway series known as March of Comics number 285, which was published in Gold Key in 1966. Now Comics, a comic publisher based in Chicago, would go on to make their own version of Astro Boy in 1987. The art for the series was done by the Canadian artist Ken Stacy. This series was also another series that was made without the consent of Osamu Tezuka. The series would end up being cancelled in 1988. The original Astro Boy anime would premiere on Fuji TV on New Year's Day in 1963. It would become the first widely successful anime. It would go on to last for 4 seasons. It would have a total of 193 episodes, and the final episode of the series would be aired on New Year's Eve in 1966, lasting almost exactly 4 years. At the peak of its popularity, the series would end up being watched by 40% of Japanese people who had access to TV at the time. Only the first 104 episodes were ever dubbed into English. The last 89 episodes never got made. Tezuka Productions would go on to remake the series in 1980. The series would premiere on NTV or Nippon Television on October 1st. They would end up making and airing a total of 52 episodes. The series was directed by Nobuo Ishiguro, who has also worked on the Macross series and The Legend of the Galactic Heroes. There would end up being a third series of about 50 episodes made in 2003 to celebrate the birth date of Astro Boy. The series was worked on by Sony Pictures Entertainment Japan, Dentsu, and Fuji Television Network. The series would first be broadcast in Japan on the same date as Astro's birth in the manga, which is April 7th, 2003, across both Animax and Fuji TV. There was a live-action film released in 1962 that was mostly just a compilation from a prior live-action series that was released before the start of the original 60s anime, and it vaguely followed the manga. The opening scene is animated, however the rest of the film is live-action. The movie ended up being a total of 75 minutes long. 2009 saw the release of a CGI movie by Imagi Animation Studios. The English voice cast for this movie is kinda insane, with some of the more notable ones being people like Freddie Highmore as Astro Boy, as well as Nicolas Cage as Dr. Tenma. They would also release a comic book series that would coincide with the release of the film in 2009. It was done by IDW Publishing. There's also supposed to be another live-action film in the works that was announced in 2015, and it is set to be produced by the animation studio Animal Logic alongside Tezuka Productions. In 1988, Konami developed an Astro Boy video game for the Famicom. The game was known in Japan to be extremely difficult. It would never be released outside of Japan. Banpresto would also release their own game in 1994 for the Super Famicom. The game was developed by a company called Zamas, and it would follow the events of the manga series. Sega would go on to publish 2 games in the Astro Boy franchise, Astro Boy Omega Factor for the Game Boy Advance, and it took a lot of different elements from the original series. However, the game titled Astro Boy, which was released on the PlayStation 2, was loosely based off the plot of the 2003 anime, but was a little bit darker. They also made a game based off the 2009 CGI movie called You Betcha! Astro Boy the video game. It was released on October 8th, 2009 for the Wii, DS, and the PS2 and PSP. It has voice acting from the movie's voice actors as well. There would end up being a bunch of mobile games released with Astro Boy in them as well. One of the main contributors to this was publisher Animoca, who made 6 games featuring Astro Boy between 2013 and 2016. These titles would include Astro Boy Dash, a temple run styled game. There was also Astro Boy Piano, which was an edutainment title, and then there would also be a shooter called Astro Boy Flight and a strategy defense game called Astro Boy Siege Alien Attack, as well as a puzzle game crossover Tezuka World, Astro Crush, and a second temple run styled game called Astro Boy Zap. In 2016, there would be a Kickstarter campaign that was launched for a digital card game called Astro Boy The Edge of Time that would feature a lot of art from well-known artists. The Kickstarter would fail to meet its goal, however despite that, it still would release a free version of the game on the service called DLMM.com in Japan and eventually on Steam internationally in April and June of 2017. However, the game would only last a few months as it would eventually be shut down in March of the next year. There have also been a lot of crossover games where Astro Boy and other Osamu Tezuka characters have appeared in. Some of them include a mobile game called Great Battle Tezuka All-Stars that came out in 2012. There's the game Eshigami no Kizuna, which is a gacha game that turns Astro Boy and other Osamu Tezuka characters into shoujo characters. Astro Boy is also a playable character in this puzzle game called Crystal Crisis. Both of these games were released in 2019. Astro Boy has appeared in a large amount of media, from manga to anime to even movies and video games. Astro Boy has stood the test of time as a character and series that will always represent anime and manga in a big way. Not everyone will know who the character is, but you will have probably seen the character at least once in your life before. Astro Boy is the first modern anime and manga series that got popular outside of Japan and will always have a special place in this community even if not everyone knows about it.